Okay, we just finished up with our work session. We will start into council and start that off. Mike, would you give us our opening prayer? And Scott, will you lead us in the pledge? We'll go to that point.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be assembled here tonight as citizens of this city of Payson. We're grateful for the opportunity we have to meet together to determine the kind of government we have here in Payson, to be able to carry out our responsibilities towards the citizens of Payson. We ask that Thou bless us tonight, that we may have a good conversations, and there will be wisdom used in any decisions that would need to be made. We thank Thee for this wonderful country we have, for the freedoms that we enjoy. We ask Thy Spirit to bless our citizens, that they may continue to encourage this kind of wonderful atmosphere for us to live in. And we ask this in Thy, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Audience, please rise and repeat the pledge of allegiance to me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is the approval of the October 5th council meeting minutes and a resolution amending the fee schedule for the solid waste department. Do we have any discussion or motion?
Mayor, there is one mistake I noticed on line 156 in the minutes of the council meeting. I wasn't here, but it has Mike Hewlett making some kind of a motion. I assume it's Councilman Hewlett. That'd be Brian instead of Mike. So that's line 156 if you want to find it.
Instead of mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Motion?
Mayor, I'll move that we approve the consent agenda as outlined.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next thing is public forum. If somebody would like to talk to the public or to the mayor and council, feel free to come up to the microphone, state your name. Going once.
I have one thing that's a Salem City or a Salem High School thing. Shall I go down here? It's a.
Just use your mic.
All right.
Or do it in your, what do you call it?
My debate voice. Okay. So every year, Salem Mills High School has an amazing event. I think it's the Skyhawk Gorge, and what they do is since the opening of Salem Mills High School, they pick out a member of our community. Sometimes they're in Payson, sometimes they're in Salem, but Salem Mills High School covers Payson and Salem areas, so students coming from both areas. And they pick out a student who has cancer or some other life-altering disease or sickness, and they work to make their wish. They work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation to grant their wish to go do something before, or to help them out with treatment or anything like that. So this year, there is a 4-year-old girl that they've identified who's had a liver transplant, and she's not done very well. And they have an event called the Skyhawk Gorge. And the Skyhawk Gorge, the school clubs, community partners, whatever, they get together and they all have a little table and they'll give out Hershey's Kisses or little hot dogs or whatever they want to. And community members come in and they'll pay, I don't know, $15 for a card or something like that, and then they can go to each stop and they can get their dinner, and all the proceeds go to make the wish of this child. This year it's a girl who had a liver transplant. And the student council approached me and asked me if the city would be interested in helping to sponsor a tent or not a tent, but a table or being there, whether like city council or is the city themselves.
That's something the youth council could even do?
Something the youth council could do? Yeah, absolutely. The youth council would be a great one to do, where they're where they're covering both. But it's a neat event to grant these kids' wishes and to help them out. So either individually as council members, or if there's some sort of discretionary budget that the city wants to use, that maybe they can go and have hot dogs or just donate some time or some cups or something to the cause. Anyway, they asked me if there would be interest here. So I will pass that on.
Okay? Oh, do you need to know tonight? Or
No,
we-
probably not. It's November 13th or 14th, whatever the Monday is. And so
Let's say we ought to.
probably in the next week, we need to know.
Let's get with Kim and see what she said. I don't know if everybody's good with that.
We need to know by Monday.
By
actually.
Monday. We need to know by Monday.
That is, if you're having a table. If you're just going to donate to the cause, then we don't need to know by that point. But if you're going to set up a table with food and serve food there, we need to know by Monday so that we can give you a place in the
Yeah,
building.
see, we can't vote on anything because it's not on the agenda, so all we can do is talk about it and go from there. So we'll try and let you know by Monday.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? No, we'll go ahead and close the public forum and we'll turn it over to staff reports. Let's make them quick. We all want to get home and watch Donald and Hillary.
Lord, Mayor. I'll make it quick tonight. I just want to remind everybody, Shop the Cop is on December 17th. I think I mentioned that last council meeting, but if anybody's wanting to donate sorry about that, to the cause, we'll take donations at the police department or the city office there. I just want to mention that on last Saturday, Payson Bible Church held a public safety appreciation breakfast. The mayor was there, and the ambulance, fire, and the police. And I wanted to say thanks to them. It was a great event, and I thought it was worthwhile to go visit with them there. It's a great group of people, so thank them again. Just want to announce that we finished up our creating our Citizens Academy. Last year we set out to create a Citizens Academy that, I don't know if anybody's heard of that, but what it is just like a small version of what the police officers do and the training and stuff like that. We spent the last year putting this program together, and we finally got it done. Lieutenant Porter and Officer Elias and myself kind of tag teamed this and went after it for the last little while when we had time. We've got the program finished, and we want to offer it to the city council and the department heads first to be our first guinea pigs if anybody's interested. First one. It'll be probably towards the end of March for about 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, depending on how we go. But a lot of communities have had big success with it, so we want to do something for our citizens, and then we'll open it up to the general public after our first class and
So what,
go for that.
commitment of one class a week? Is that
One class a week, yeah,
For an
about
hour?
2 hours a night.
hours?
Yeah.
Do we get to taser somebody when it's done?
We'll taser you when we're done.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. Or Travis.
If we can do Travis, I'm all in.
Okay, we'll do Travis. So anyway, I'll if you're interested, I'll send an email out if you're interested. That'd be great to have you guys come. Mount Nebo Junior High presented us with a Pay It Forward gift today. Their student body come down and gave us all a little treat and a poster that's basically saying thanks for our service. Nebo Junior High, Mount Nebo Junior High. So we want to thank them. And one last thing, the department was awarded a JAG grant for $4,500 for equipment this year by the federal government. So just let you know that we'll be purchasing equipment with that. So that said, in the last 2 weeks in the department, we've had 56 arrests, 93 offenses, 114 citations that have resulted in 141 violations. We've taken 606 cases on 2 DUIs, 130 traffic stops, and 17 traffic accidents. So, still staying busy. So,
Thank you.
any questions?
Mayor and Council, we've had 447 people come to the counter at Development Services. Just obviously the construction season's winding down. We're trying to get 4 South done, but if you get a chance early next week, I would encourage you to drive down 6 East. I know Councilman Hardy's kind of seen it, but 4 South should be paved pretty soon, hopefully this weekend, along with the intersection at 6 East. So
Are
we
you gonna
should.
wait to pave that after you get the new Questar line in, or what?
Hey, we're already ahead of you. We're getting there.
Oh, okay.
I got an inside contact on that.
Really?
No, but it's looking pretty good. It's a good project, so hopefully it'll get done here pretty quick, but it's been looking good and it's gone pretty well, so. I don't know if there's anything else, but that was the main thing. And then just on Councilman Welton's thing, some of you know, my family and I did Make-A-Wish a couple of years ago, and it's a great program to support, and it was a great opportunity for us, so. Any support we can, I would highly recommend.
Okay.
Mayor and City Council, there's been an invitation extended to the Mayor, City Council, and to staff to go out and tour the Rocky Mountain ATV facility. And so I've been coordinating with Dan on some days and times that work for him. So just check your email in the next couple of days. I'll actually probably send out a doodle poll to get everybody's availability, so we can try to get as many of you there as we can. But he's wanted to do this for a while, but he wanted to make sure that it was up and running, you know, with his new addition. It's been up for a while, but they haven't had everything stocked and everything in place. So now that that's done, he's going to welcome us out there to look at it. So look for that email, and hopefully we'll get something scheduled soon.
Joe?
Yes.
Go ahead.
On that, could you see it, because I want the Economic Development Committee to go out there, so could you see if that's okay to do that?
I'll just get with you or Dave to get the members of that.
Just make sure it's okay with them first. Okay, thanks.
I was just going to suggest maybe Temkin would be somebody we'd want to do something like this with. I don't think the mayor and council have been out there for a long time.
And I can reach out to Danny and maybe do something similar in the next month or so, or in the spring, one of the two, so, okay.
Okay, any other staff?
Just one reminder for Mayor and Council, we do have a joint meeting with Elk Creek City Council next Tuesday. Just make sure that's on your calendar, and it's up at their office. Jill, what time is it? Is it 6? I think it's 6 o'clock, 6 to 7.
Okay. Mike?
I don't have anything, Mayor.
Doug? I don't have anything either. Linda?
No.
Ryan?
Nothing.
Scott?
I just want to tell Travis thanks for putting together kind of an appreciation luncheon for the Public Works employees, and it was very well attended, and I think we told them thanks for the hard work they've been doing, because our town is looking better.
I do have something, Mayor. Just wanted to thank Travis and Dave for going up to Fort Bay with us today. Travis did try to endanger my life, but I managed to survive that, so.
And then I have one more, and thanks, Jill, for lining up our little trip up north.
Thank you for attending.
Okay. That it? Again, the Bible Church, we went up there last Saturday, like Brad was saying, very well attended. I appreciate the public services for coming out and supporting them in their breakfast. They put on a massive spread, so it was really good, and we appreciate them for taking the time to thank all of our public safety. Other than that, I attended a meeting today at the Capitol with Evan McMullen, who's running for president. So that was an interesting meeting, and I think that's going to be personally, I think if Utahns don't look that way, if nothing more than for the ethics that he has compared to the others, I think we need to really look at it. So anyways, other than that, we do appreciate the public The guys that's been on the sewer and water and roads for 6th East and 4th South, and Scott and his crew, it's really made it look good up there. I think once it gets all paved, it's gonna be another great addition, so appreciate them. Okay, next thing on the agenda, we got any scouts in the audience? We didn't have any check-in. Okay, so I guess we will go over that. Next thing will be the resolution deferral agreement for Brad Jeffrey, and I'll turn that to Dave.
I can, or do you want to, either way. Mayor Council, you had Mr. Jeffrey come in, a couple of years ago. He's got a home and property out, it's out past Olson's, out in that area. And the council approved a deferral agreement so that he could put an addition onto his house. But the city could require him to put all the improvements in when any other development. He does want to put an outbuilding up there. We looked at the infrastructure that would need to be put in there, curb, gutter, and sidewalk, and it just really still doesn't make sense at this time until there's a little bit more development. So we're just doing an addendum to allow him to do that outbuilding, and it still won't spark the infrastructure until those services get better, or maybe closer. So that's the proposals, that we approved the addendum to allow him to be able to do that outbuilding without triggering all the curb, gutter, sidewalk out there.
Do we have any discussion or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay, we got a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any other discussion? What did you point him for? Oh, okay. Councilman Artie. Do we need a roll call?
No.
No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
That'd be Brian Hardy down there on the end.
Brian Hardy opposed? All right, the next thing on the agenda then will be a work session. And we're going to a work session. It's proposed by Evan Nixon for development on the southwest corner of 1130 South, 1700 West. And I'll turn that over, I guess, Jill.
She's looking to see if he's
The
here yet.
applicant's not here yet, but I can give you an overview. And
Then Jill's going to dance until he gets here and then give us a little song.
This isn't a comedy. So, okay, so Evan Nixon. And the reason, we don't want to get in the habit of bringing every development to the council to look at before they start the approval process, because really an applicant can come in, if they meet the requirements of the zone, they can process the applicant to the Planning Commission, City Council, and have a final decision made. The reason this one is a little bit different, and is why staff agreed with Mr. Nixon's request for a work session, is, okay, so just to give,
Just shut the door. Thank you.
okay. So the parcel that we're looking at is going to be the first development in the South Meadows planning area. And so the area that we're looking at, so this is the 8 South interchange located here. You've got the Ridgestone Apartments that's located here. This property is just kitty corner from the Ridgestone Apartments. So it's that first parcel into the South Meadows planning area. And so gives you an idea of where it is compared to the South Meadows planning area. So as indicated in the base scenario land use plan that was put together as part of that planning study, maybe my thing died, okay. So there's 5 1/4 acres here that Mr. Nixon has under contract. And so the land use, the underlying land use in that area is 10 units to the acre. So Mr. Nixon has put together a development proposal to accommodate a townhome product on that 5 1/4 acres. He's having to accommodate a wider road on the north side for 1130 South. Again, this is not working. That is to the north of his parcel, and then 1700 West is on the east side of his parcel, which is basically the frontage road along the freeway. And so he has put that together. with that, and recognizing the requirements in the South Meadows planning area, we're having to do some ordinance amendments as well. And so that's one of the reasons why it's taken Mr. Nixon a little bit longer to get through this approval process. We're working on those ordinance amendments now. We've actually consulted with him on some ideas for multifamily, and those will be processed. They actually go to the Planning Commission at their meeting next week. So these ordinance amendments are anticipated to be, to be adopted before his development proposal comes to you for a final decision. So we've got a couple of things.
What are some of those, are you going to explain some of those ordinance changes?
I won't go into a lot of detail. Generalities is right now, the only high-density multifamily zone that we have is 15 to 20 units to the acre. So we really don't have it anything between 10 and 15. So we have this new zoning area as part of this land use plan that that shows 10 units to the acre, or 10 plus, and we don't have any regulations for that. And so trying to find the correct zoning, a good balance between the number of residential units, the amount of open space, the amenities that should be allowed as that density increases, anywhere from 10 units to the acre up to 20 units to the acre. So we're looking at modifying the RMF zone, which is that zone that we have now for 15 to 20 units to the acre, and actually having it be a 10 to 20 unit to the acre, and then have a sliding scale of this many units, this is how much parking, this is the type of parking, these are the amenities, this is how much landscaping. So we're actually just widening or broadening the requirements for our RMF zone. So that's the area that we're looking at there. So moving on, hopefully they'll get here. But so looking at, so Mr. Nixon has provided a lot of detail for you of how he's going to address parking and on-site storage, amenities, things like that. So here is the layout that he's looking at. So he'll have a number of townhome structures that will be located here. He is proposing that there will be common area around these, but then there will also be some limited common area that could be fenced, that could be used for personal use for the owners of each of these townhome units. He is showing at a central location to the development. He is showing some amenities, a clubhouse, splash pad, sports court, picnic, and playground area there. All of the units are accessed internally, except for these units that will back onto 1700 West in this location. And the roads within the development will be narrower than a standard public streets, but they will be privately owned and maintained.
My only issue is that is for the same reason we have on 8 South. That one road that goes in front of those. It was the same issue. We let that go through right there by Mullen Park.
Oh, 630
630.
Chariot townhomes. Yeah, so that.
Now we're stuck with that road.
So, and I don't know, are we maintaining 630?
No.
Yeah, I don't think, but it has been, as the mayor mentioned, it has been a concern. I don't think that we have taken back the responsibility of that road, but I know that that has been a concern of those owners in the past with the maintenance of that roadway.
So what about garbage pickup? How would that work for this?
I'm sure that garbage pickup, they would just enter into this. It's going to be a 24-foot wide road is what he's proposing. So they still would be able to go in, and collect that, but they would be responsible for the road maintenance and for the snow plowing within the development.
How does that work with the fire?
That is part of the review that they would have to get the approval for the tightening up of that roadway width, and they would have to meet the requirements of, I know that they require a minimum of 20 feet. Whether or not the fire department would require more than 24 feet, he would have to get that approval.
I guess for the regular trucks it wouldn't be that, but for the ladder truck,
Right.
it might be a little tight.
Like in Majestic Meadows, how does that garbage pickup work?
I'm not sure.
Travis?
We don't have,
I think we just have an agreement with them that we have, you know, they have to give us access to get in there and pick it up, I think, as long as we do.
Because I know some of them, they still park out on the road.
Yeah.
Well, you can always pick up garbage in some of those private roads without making them, you know, haul it clear out to the public road.
Jill?
yeah, sorry. We're trying to get hold of the applicant.
Okay, a couple of questions for you. How many homes per acre was this? 12, you said?
This is proposed at 10,
10?
consistent with the South Meadows plan.
And how much is Ridgestone?
And Ridgestone is 18.
18, okay. On that 1700 West, I have a real problem. That street's just gonna get busier and busier, and having people move out of their driveways into that street, I think they ought to be moving that clubhouse and have a nice fence there and move their clubhouse and everything and put the other houses on the other side, because I just think that'd be a real problem and
Well,
traffic safety problem.
and you can share that concern with the applicant when you get here. That was one of the things that we, as staff, when the DRC reviewed it, was concerned about all those driveways backing in. Currently, that road is fairly busy because of the amount of truck traffic. Long-term, when this area develops out, the actual, or the arterial road will be the extension of 8 South and then 1950 West.
That
But
could be
yes,
20 years down the road.
But it could be quite some time. But the study that was completed for the South Meadows only shows this as being just a typical residential street, recognizing that this is going to be, is what's going to be designed to carry the heavier traffic and the higher volume traffic. But yes, staff had a concern with that. He was a little concerned about having those amenities on the outside because of the visibility and maybe the safety of the children that were in there. I mean, whether or not if he was putting a cybersecurity fence that would be, address those concerns. But he was concerned about having the residents of that development being so visible on the outside. And that's why he did not want to flip the buildings.
Yeah, and I thought of that too, and I just thinking put a nice fence you can't see through and cover that, so.
Oh, and Mr. Nixon just walked in, so I know a lot of these questions. So, and we've started with just an introduction. And so, unless you have any more questions for me, I just gave you a quick overview. Mr. Nixon has provided a lot of information for you to consider in your packet. This is not a development review per se to give the applicant approval or denial of his request. It's just to give him some general information as he finalizes his application that will be processed through the Planning Commission City Council. At that time, it will be your responsibility to make sure that he's met the requirements of the ordinance so you can make a well-informed decision on the application as a whole. So with that, we've got Evan Nixon that is here. He's the applicant for this 5 1/4 acres and this townhome project, and I will turn some time over to him.
Thank you, I apologize, I'm a little later than I was hoping to get here. As Jill's mentioned, I'd like to, if you're familiar with the property, this parcel is...
You want to go up to the mic? We do,
okay.
we tape all of these, so.
If you need a pointer.
Oh, the parcel that is proposed to be developed is kitty corner to the Stone Ridge condominiums. It's like, just to give you, to southwest of there, of the intersection of 1700 West and 1130 South, which is at the south end of Stone Ridge. And what the proposal is to build 55 townhomes in that location. They would be, this is showing the proposed layout. They would be, right now the plan is to put 2-story, 3-bedroom townhomes with 2-car garages and full unfinished basements. And then the amenities, that's something that's actually one of the issues I wanted to talk about is what we're looking to do right now, so this plan was put together in conjunction with your South Meadows specific plan, which calls for 10 units per acre in this location. It actually has there's an alternative plan that if you have, it's an educational plan, I think, that would call for up to 20 units per acre in this location if you wanted to. So we're looking at 10 units per acre. In talking to the planning staff, currently there isn't a ordinance that is specifically for 10 units per acre. But the proposal would be is to use your residential multifamily zoning ordinance with a development agreement, which allows up to 15 units per acre, but put together a development agreement that would limit it to the 10 units per acre. And I know that the city staff has been working on some additional items that propose modifications to that, and I believe it's coming for the council in a couple of weeks.
Next
Next one, okay. So I guess I had some questions. So I came to Jill, the planning staff, and was making a zone change request. One of the things that they thought would help facilitate that is put together a preliminary plan as part of a plan of what's going on, what is proposed for the location of the parcel as part of that zone change. And I started to put together, and our preliminary plans are probably 50% done. But there's still quite a bit of engineering and that to go on. And I guess I wanted some kind of feedback that I'm headed in the right direction before I put together a full set of preliminary construction plans, just to give the council, if you didn't like it. And so I wanted to get some feedback that we're headed in the right direction. So I guess I wanted some confirmation, first of all, on, is the council comfortable with zoning this as a residential multifamily, the RMF zone, with a development agreement limited it to the 10 units, to the 55 units for this. Also, I was curious, one of the bigger issues, at least more significant issues with the RMF ordinance is the requirement for any development over 50 units is required to have either a below ground swimming pool or a tennis court. And actually, if I were to have to choose between those two, I'd probably choose the swimming pool. I think but for a project this size, I know there's even issues with the pool that was installed as part of Stone Ridge, which has 180 units, and trying to maintain it and keep it going. And so in talking to different marketing people and potential buyers and that, what I would like to do, I think a water feature would be beneficial, but something more like a splash pad that would be a lot less maintenance, probably be used a lot more. And so I guess those type of amenities that I was wondering what kind of flexibility and if the council was amenable to potentially changing the ordinance to accommodate those.
I'd rather have them go up to our swimming pool and have the patrons up there than trying to pay for their own.
Why did we put a swimming pool or tennis court? Do you remember, Jill? What's the deal with that?
Well, I think just looking at other high-density multifamily projects along the Wasatch Front, is where we took, some of the ideas when we first created RMF zone. But going along with what Mr. Nixon said, you know, I think there needs to be modification of the types of amenities and comparing them to the size of the project. I mean, that's even feedback that we've received even from Ridgestone, the owners of Ridgestone, of the type of amenities, or even at what point during the construction process that they're actually required to be installed.
Because I know theirs is they had to have it up front.
Yes.
That was their big
Yeah. And so just, you know, and you know, it's unfortunate that we went through that with that applicant, but just taking that feedback from them with their experience, we're trying to put that into this new ordinance as well to avoid that. But whether or not a pool at all, I mean, if we should be requiring that, or, I mean, you're still gonna have developers that come in and they may want to put a pool in there, but whether or not it's an amenity that we require at, whether it's 100 acres or 100 units or 150, that's what we need to work out through this ordinance amendment.
Let me just address a little bit about putting the amenities in first. I know why the cities do that is because at one point in time they were getting a lot of projects that were getting done and the amenities weren't done. And then they say, well, we got 5 units left, and until we finish those, we're going to put the amenities in. So I can see maybe looking at something like that was bonded for or something like that, knowing that there is something in place to take care of that. But just say, well, you can do it at the end, I don't think I'd be too keen on that, but I look at the swimming pool for sure.
I also just want to, part of that, part of the ordinance, one other issue that there's a storage requirement. You have to provide 25% storage units for 25% of the units or something, which I can appreciate if it was a development similar to Ridgestone that has no condominiums, there are no garages. These would have garages and actually, like I say, and basements to them. Again, I just would want to make sure that there was some flexibility to account for that and not require additional storage beyond. As part of this development, so like I said, it's shown on the map here, exhibit, the borders 1700 west and 1130 south. The interior roads for the project would be, are proposed to be private roads. And we would propose they end up being about 24 feet of asphalt, which gives you 27 feet from curb to curb. One of the reasons for this is that there wouldn't be additional parking is provided. Actually, our current layout has, well, the ordinance would requires an extra parking space for every 4 units, which would be about 14 units, 14 parking spaces. Proposing to put an additional 19 parking spaces, and that doesn't include actually 2 parking spaces in every driveway in front of the garage. So the need for additional asphalt on the actual in the street feels unnecessary and actually detrimental overall to the project, just to add asphalt for.
Point that out for us. You got a pointer, Joe?
Yeah. So there's parking. There's 3 spaces here, and then actually right underneath that, they're rolled up, and then there's another 10 spaces here. So there's additional parking. But what I'm saying is in front of every, so there's a garage in this footprint. This footprint is about 25 by 50, which includes a 2-car garage. And so that in front of every 2-car garage, there's a little over 20 feet of driveway going into that garage, which has space for 2 cars.
The only thing what I've seen, as I manage some of this type of scenario, I think you need RV parking for their RVs, whatever their trailers or whatever it is they buy. That's what I've seen, and I've seen down to Ridgestone that theirs is well used. It's pretty full. Their RV, you know, a parking area to put the trailers and stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, and I just, I mean, and there's, I mean, I like I said, I've kind of over expanded the parking and it would, and there's, you know, I could take part of that parking and make it RV storage. I'm not,
Well, and I guess my thoughts is it's a smaller development. I guess I'm with Brian. I don't have a problem not, you know, without not having the pool requirement. I'm good with a splash pad. You know.
I have a question on that, just out of curiosity. Why do cities require amenities? Like, it seems like in a capitalist society, if you want to attract people to your pad, you'll do that on your own. Why do cities force that? Is there any data that shows?
Density bonus? Density bonus, but this is going to be less than Ridgestone, so.
no, I'll give my 2 cents of why I think. Because by putting amenities here, it would reduce the impact on city-provided amenities other locations. Is the justification for it, but.
Probably.
And there's that balance. I don't mind putting some amenities in because it does.
I mean, yeah, it seems like if you want to get people there, you want to have something that's going to draw them there besides just a home.
But and at the same time, though, I mean, this is will be covered by an HOA, right. So that in addition to the home costs, there's going to be HOA fees, and in order to keep this affordable for people, I want to keep those HOA fees as manageable as possible. So that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering why cities mandate that, but that makes sense.
They're not the cheapest, but they have lots of HOA fees.
So on the parking though, if people want to have parties and they want to invite people over, if you don't have those additional, like most people invite more than 2 people over to a party.
Understand, and actually, I'd say
So that's just my thought. Like if I were buying there, I'd say, can I invite people over? And if I've only got 2 parking spots, I can invite people over, but it might not be to the degree that I want. So again, I'm not hung up on it. I just think if I were buying some parking to invite my friends and neighbors and Utah families are still big, even if they're living in smaller areas. They've got lots of extended family that they invite over. Although that's a way that you can keep it down so they don't wear out your facilities as fast. Having parking.
And that's one of the, and probably even if you didn't require it, I would probably still put it in as a clubhouse that provides for some large gatherings, and that's why I've actually oriented the parking so that it is adjacent to the clubhouse for a little bit bigger get-togethers.
Gotcha. Just as a parent, and then you can do whatever you want, but I would flip-flop your sports court and your splash pad, because if I'm picnicking, my little ones are going to be running around on the splash pad, and I'd rather be close to them.
And this
and you can do whatever you want.
No, I appreciate the input. This is more to show that we'll fit.
Gotcha.
I mean, so I'm hoping that there's some flexibility to how this goes in there. So.
Okay. I'm jumping the gun.
But I appreciate the input.
I got a couple of things. Going back to what Scott said about RVs and boats, and personally, I'm a little different. I'd rather not have them there and have them have to go out and rent someplace and not have a bunch of RVs and boats in every area. So that'd be kind of my thinking that way. And then another thing I'd question about, I drive down 1700 West, and that's a pretty busy street, and you got a lot of big trucks going down that. I wouldn't feel very comfortable having driveways going into 1700.
Actually, that was my next item. I've gone through a concept review with the city staff, and actually the only significant comment that I received was the driveways. There's 5 driveways that would end up facing on 1700 West, and they're concerned with the truck traffic generated by the pit. 1700 West is a local road. It is currently signed, speed limit for 25 miles an hour, local road. 5 driveways is actually less than what would end up being there if this was developed as single-family homes. You probably have more than 5 driveways that fronted onto 1700 West. So now, having said that,
I like having the units facing on 1700 West just to kind of centralize the amenities. I mean, there was talk about, well, why don't you put the amenities out on 1700 West and put the units off of the private street, which is doable. But I think it makes it less attractive and, to the overall development. And I think the impacts to having the driveway out there are not as that significant. Now, I know there is truck traffic there. I've been out there many times.
Yeah, I drive it every day, so, and I've almost been killed on this road probably 10 times in the last year. Because people pull right out and don't even worry about if you're going straight. They'll pull right in front of you and you have to slam on your brakes, and I'm not kidding you. They don't care. It's a very dangerous road.
So one of the things that I mean, so that there's a lot of different options, that potential traffic calming design that could be put in there, whether that's bringing curbs in to slow down people, speed humps, additional signing, what type of signing there is. So there's a lot of things that you can do to help manage that.
Are you talking about speed humps on 1700 West?
You could. I'm saying, remember, this is a local street, and that's not that unusual in urban design. To if you want traffic calming, is to
Put a roundabout before.
Yeah, it's a frontage road right now.
So.
I mean, you already
What
got.
about one of those traffic signs we keep talking about?
Flat, yeah, like you have something that shows you. The other thing is when you're going over speed limit.
Well, and I think we can take those suggestions, and he can evaluate those, before he submits his official application. It does show on the South Meadows plan that it is a local street. But, taking that feedback into consideration, he can look at some other options and explore those to see if any of them would work.
So probably the last item that would like some feedback on is I've talked to, as far as utilities and supplying this, I've actually had meetings with city staff and with Strawberry Highline, and I think we've got a plan for supplying, connected into the Strawberry Lateral 20 and those issues. Related, not well, some are related, is power in this location. There is actually overhead power lines on the south side of 1130 South and on the west side of 1700 West that are owned by South Valley. I've talked to Ron Crump and he was hoping, well, and the plan is to have this development serviced by, even with South Valley Electric's lines on both sides of the project, is to have this project supplied by Payson Power. And I know Ron, he had mentioned that he was going to come before the council, and I know it hasn't happened, but and I understand there's some issues back and forth, but this might be an impetus for resolving some of those things, is that this is a location where there would make some sense to have Payson Power purchase some of South Valley's lines, particularly 1700 West. From what I understand, all of the entities that are serviced from that line are within Payson City boundaries, and so it would be a logical extension of Payson Power's facilities. And he was saying 1130 South, those facilities would make sense in the future to be relocated to the railroad right of way, where it'd be a common shared facility in that. So, but I guess it'd be nice to not have to. And talking to South Valley, they want to have these facilities put underground and then double up that by putting in, Payson's facilities underground seems like an unnecessary amount of putting in parallel power facilities. And so if there was an opportunity to get some resolution to that, I'd like to know what I can do to facilitate that. And then if you had, I guess you've seen, just want to make sure you saw the type of units that we're putting in. These units are actually units that, pictures of where my daughter lives. She bought one of these units, and I really like the layout. She bought it about 2 years ago, and I spent a lot of time going around looking at different facilities, and this is one of the best layouts, and she's really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to building some product here in Payson. Anyway, do you have any questions for me or any other input? Any concerns?
I guess not. So,
I like the project, I like where it is, the location and everything like that. It's just I think we, at least from my perspective, we can do away with swimming pool or tennis courts and make the amenities less. So I think there's some ways we can work with you and make this project work for you. But still my concerns on the driveway. So.
okay.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. We will, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're done.